Hello, today for review I've got FiiO FD3, their new addition to the single dynamic drivers models. And I think everyone will agree that FiiO is a company with great expertise and actually a company with smart people who knows about the portable audio market. They developed many really successful models. Players, digital tonal converters, Bluetooth receivers, many of their products became a big success and bestsellers, including some in-ear monitors. They have three parallel lines of earphones, pure balanced armatures, hybrid with dynamic driver and balanced armatures, and not so long ago they started developing the single dynamic driver lineup and actually succeed there. Two previous models, FD1 and FD5, became bestsellers, offering that unique combination of coherence and at the same time precise and fast sound with impactful tight bass and so on. I won't go far into that historical reminiscence. If you're interested in FD1 or FD5, I reviewed them both, really recommend that two models, but today we will talk about the FD3. Fifth model, or their dynamic driver flagship, became a pretty big bestseller, so idea of releasing similar sound in more affordable shape was pretty obvious, and that's how FD3 appeared. FiiO found some good dynamic driver. If I remember right, it's amorphous diamond-like copper-plated one, and or beryllium-plated ones. Actually, forgot which driver used here, but it's not that important. It's fast and detailed dynamic driver, and more important that they've spent a lot of time tuning and tweaking it in terms of acoustic treatment. It's a semi-open model, and it's smart semi-open. We'll show it a bit later why. Here used the sophisticated acoustic prism to deliver the best sound and so on. But probably the biggest plus here is the price. It's just $100, it's recommended price. Maybe it could be a bit more in some countries, but nowadays it's a pretty affordable budget offer, and especially taking into account that presentation, accessory set and other stuff that FiiO did on the top-notch level. But let's actually have a closer look, you will see it yourself now. So, package is interesting. Black cardboard with nice interesting rainbow-like foiling with some actually not pretty much information, but some features outlined here and there, and compare it with, let's say, KZ models of $100 range. Difference is totally striking. And inside here is manual. I don't want to damage it, but let's do it this way. Here are earpieces themselves. And as you can easily guess, in this box buyers will get extra accessories. So let's take earphones outside and for a while put aside, but meanwhile let's go into this box to see the set of accessories. And with earphones you'll get the nice plastic carrying case. That's a pretty good offer in this price tier, and inside FiiO put a lot of useful things too. So four different type of tips. So with red stems, middle sizes I use with earphones now. Regular gray silicons, two pair of foams, and white with red stems. So we've seen that tips with FiiO other models in the past, but adding that set of tips into the accessories is pretty nice. Also, this model has replaceable filters. As usual, they are done in like spouts, so you can unscrew them and screw other ones. Also this brush for cleaning, in my opinion not super useful tool, but anyway. And more useful thing is a small tool to disconnect MMCX connectors without damaging earphones. In some situations it can be pretty useful. There are two versions of this FD3s, regular and Pro one. Regular costs $100, Pro is $140 if I remember right. I got non-Pro version for now and we'll look at it. But actually the main and the only difference is cables. Pro version came with more advanced silver-plated copper cable with replaceable connectors. I didn't test it yet, but in my opinion it's a pretty good offer, getting that cable with replaceable connectors for just $40. FiiO actually recently announced that they release that cable separately, and I will get it in some future, so I will definitely test it with these earphones and will tell about it more, but currently we're talking about the non-Pro version. Anyway, design is great. Actually, in my opinion, probably it's even slightly better than FD5. FD5 of course looks more high-end with that shiny silver case with precise machining, but this one is a bit more fancy with all that stuff. So you can see that it's made of metal, nice interesting gray color, golden ring, and the faceplate made of celluloid with magnifying glass above it. It gives the earpiece kind of 3D look, and at the same time it looks like marble. And FiiO's logo here, pretty nice design. Spouts have proper angles going into ears pretty nicely, giving even slightly above average sound isolation, despite this model being open, or actually not open, semi-open, because here are vents. So you can see that FiiO found smart way to put them. And also small pressure relief hole here, but they are semi-open, but it still sound isolation is a bit above average, so it will be enough for public transport, for noisy street or other scenarios like that. So you can unscrew the spout to replace them, and it's simple and easy way, so it proved by few companies before. And there is a lip for holding the tips, protective grill, so all that stuff that I pay attention to check them. Cables are made replaceable, used MMCX connectors, pretty tight fitting, so of course it's possible to disconnect them without tool, but still they seems to be pretty reliable and holding well. Stock cable is normal, so there are ear hooks without memory wire effect, but anyway. About average in terms of softness, maybe slightly softer than average or average. Microphonic effect is reduced by these ear hooks, and it's not that super soft cable, but still acceptable and made of good high quality copper. Chin slider with splitter, and after splitter it goes down to regular angled 3.5mm jack. Not the best cable in the world, but of course still a really good offer for this price tire, better than many other companies offer. And for $40 you can get a much more advanced cable, of course. I haven't heard that cable, but you know, even besides that, I think that it's better to get a Pro version anyway. Unless of course you have some fancy cable, for example if you bought FiiO LCRE, for example, or some other fancy cable, of course you can get this one and use it. And definitely you can get non-Pro version and save $40 if it's a valuable amount of money for you. I also think that in terms of sound, difference won't be huge, because in many cases better cables is more about ergonomics. And with dynamic drivers, sound impact usually is not huge, but of course it's still noticeable. Anyway, about the sound we will talk in the next part. And of course about the sound, I gave them about 60 hours of burn-in. There were slight changes in first 10 hours or so, but they were not huge, so if once you buy them, you just can start listening them and enjoying without spending dedicated time for burn-in. So if you want to deep dive into your new purchase and start enjoying it, so go for it, you won't spoil the first impressions. As a player, to show examples, first I wanted to use Aston Cairns Ultima, but then I thought that FiiO's new player with their new earphones would be a good combination. And actually, this model delivers what one can expect from a technical single dynamic driver. Absolute coherence, no drivers overlap, no problems with consistency of sound, no traces of frequency band stitching, nothing like that. So great, well-tuned sound, really close to FD5, just slightly moved to a bit less audiophilic and more musical representation. But still pretty technical with good resolution and at the same time really well balanced. So I can say in short, those are great sounding earphones, and that's you can probably finish watching this review here, but if you want to hear some additional praise for these earphones, let's go. So bass is accented, not too much, but also a bit noticeable. It's slightly below average bass accent probably, but closer to average, so it's definitely not the bass shy model and not the model for those who need absolutely linear, flat, low frequencies. But at the same time, thanks to this 12mm diamond-like carbon driver, it's fast with a good resolution, not at the armature level, but with a really good texturing, with a lot of that small nuances and overtones that gives that sense of naturalness. And it goes to a good depth. When necessary, it can pump a viable amount of air, giving you a good sense of weight, authority, and giving you that slam, impact, and all that things you can expect from the good low frequencies. But at the same time, when track is not bass heavy, low frequencies here stays in place and are well controlled. So pretty universal. It can be really pleasant with something like hip hop, pop music, but at the same time it can play small nuances of fortepiano, acoustic double bass and other stuff. Maybe for electronic music you can prefer something more bass heavy in general if you have like 90% of that in your media library. But for me, low frequencies here are more than enough, even for the genre, for bands like The Antwoord, The Prodigy and other stuff. It has that deep rumble, it has mid frequencies, not mid frequencies, mid bass, weight and all that other things. So really good dynamic driver that probably FiiO will use later in hybrid models too. As an example for the low frequencies, I've got David Bowie, Blackstar. Not actually pretty really bassy track, but it has some low frequencies over and there, appearing and disappearing, and they can be easily lost sometimes, but thanks to the technical representation of low frequencies by the FD3, it stays really well controlled. And it shows presence when it's necessary. Mid frequencies have a good resolution, not dry and monitoring as typical balanced armatures and not as focused on the micro contrast as, let's say, FD5, but have a really good resolution, but at the same time really proper weight distribution, nice amount of macro dynamics and emotions. So basically it's a model that slightly highlights micro contrast, but at the same time also has a really good macro dynamics. So it managed to achieve nice results both in macro and micro parts of music representation. That means that you'll get the small tiny nuances from one hand, and from another hand fast transitions, impacts and emotions will be also rendered really nicely. They not focusing on the micro contrast, so it's not the model for the absolutely audiophilic listening. For that aspect, so you can get FD5 or actually FD1. It's more focused on the micro contrast a little bit. But this one is more natural, more organic than FD1. Okay, let's postpone comparisons than FD1, and it's not super nitpicking. Of course, good records will be a huge plus, but still it's pretty forgiving, both in terms of source and in terms of tracks quality. Imaginary stage is noticeably above average, so pretty big, spacious, and probably thanks to that, I don't know, to that open design, or maybe thanks to that acoustic lens, but really good in terms of spaciousness, and one of the best in this price tier, and really well in representing instruments, vocal, so everything is pretty natural, balanced. They're not trying, to highlight something or to mask something too much to make sound more impressive. They just natural and at the same time musical. And as an example for the mid frequencies, I've got Haken. I really like this band, one of the best newcomers in the progressive metal world, skillfully mixing progressive metal with synthwave, retrowave and many other genres, and actually 1985 hints you what to expect from this tune. Interesting synthesizer riffs, guitar riffs, and drums, and many things going on in this track, and to represent it fully, this model does its job really well. It's not going into that tiny nuances to make it sound lifeless, but at the same time it has good resolution to separate all these things here. And treble. You can actually change amount of treble with filters. With balanced one you'll get a bit less treble. With regular one or clarity one you'll get a bit more treble. But surprisingly actually that for me that two filters are not perceived this way, because for me is a more impacting lower part of spectrum, because treble remains the same, but with the filter with less treble, bass is a bit more noticeable. So it's a good illustration of subjective perception of audio here. And treble has above average extension, not super extended, but still noticeably above average, with really good balance. Of course, attacks and decays are a bit slower than they should be, but at the same time not too much. So treble sounds really well balanced. For me it's not sharp, but if you're sensitive to treble, it's better to listen them before buying, because it's definitely not the model with a softer or comfortable level of treble. At the same time it has a really good overtones saturation, meaning that small nuances and details will be played nicely, and especially with percussion and other things like that. And actually a good example for the treble, Led Zeppelin, Going to California, that signature guitar here with a lot of overtones going to the high frequency domain and giving this track that famous magic sound. So it requires nice treble performance, and this model delivers that. Speaking about the pairing, they can, they can definitely be listened with smartphones or with tablets, but of course it's better to get at least some digital to analog converter. It's not super critical model, but at the same time they're enjoyable with some affordable sources, but at the same time they scale well to upper medium or even lower high-end segment, and they have potential even to show the strengths of FiiO M11 Plus, for example. So good player is would be a good plus for them. They don't require super power or vice versa totally black background, so pretty universal, and in terms of pairing you can select just based on the desired representation. Speaking about the conversions, actually there are a lot of models in FiiO's own lineup, and probably let's start with FD series. So FD1 is more linear, brighter, more focused on the micro contrast, more drier and faster. This one is more musical, more organic and sounding more balanced. FD5 sounding slightly more resolving on the mids and treble, but at the same time bit more focus on the micro contrast, being more critical, so kind of more audiophilic representation. And FiiO's FH3 is closest rival to this model, but to my taste this one is bit better. FH3 is bit more V-shaped than FD3 and sounding bit more fun, but this one is more natural and more refined. FH5, it's a case of totally different representation. FH5 is tighter, more impactful, and FH5S is also tighter, more weighty and more impactful, and brighter on the treble at the same time. And what we also have, more expensive models of course will be better, FH7, FA9, so on, that highest segment. In this price tier there are a lot of other models, but I don't see much sense in comparing it with, I don't know, Big U YZ Spring or some other hybrid models, because for hybrids you'll get more lightweight and bit faster representation of hybrid usually. So the only model I can instantly recall it's Ibasso IT01X that I reviewed recently. Ibasso has bigger low frequencies comparing to this one, slightly more resolution on the mids and less resolution on the bass, and a bit more forward treble representation. Difference isn't huge, but still audible. So simply say Ibasso is slightly more V-shaped than this model. But which one is the best, of course it's a matter of your preferences here. Probably there are a lot of other models that I didn't recall, like, I don't know, Moondrop KXXX, they are more linear with brighter treble and NF audio, and M2 is more analytical and monitoring. So you can definitely feel free to ask me about the comparisons if you need something, but I need to summarize this video, it's already pretty long, so thank you for staying with me to the end of this video. And I can make a prediction that FiiO created models that will be a big thing in next few months. Thank you for listening, thank you for your attention, and of course have a nice day.